computer. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Today I am sitting here with the fantastic Dr. Natascha Saunders, excuse me, also known as Tasha, if you're me, because we've been friends now for some time. And today what we're going to be talking about is something I think that's really important in this day and age, specifically right now with everything that we're going through. And first thing I want to do is introduce Natascha to you and have her tell you a little bit about what she does, and then we're going to go from there, just have a conversation.
That sounds good. So hi, everyone. Thank you, Scott, for this huge opportunity. So excited. I have known Scott forever, and he is literally a rock star. So I am so excited to be a part of this conversation. And so I am a career coach. Specifically, I work with youth, students, or what I like to say, scholars. So academic scholars. And I've been doing this for a long time, right? Like it's been longer than I need to share. Over a decade. We'll just go there.
We'll go there. That works.
Yeah. So but I love what I do. And I'm very grateful to do what I do, to be able to have conversations with students and create career strategies and review their branding materials, and then see where they start and then where they go after they graduate, and then as they progress throughout their career, right? It's just a really exciting opportunity. So thank you once again, Scott, for the chance to chat with you.
You are very welcome. And what I really wanted to talk about today was this aspect of having mentors in our life, both personally and professionally.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that look like? And what does that mean, especially for some of these underserved populations that you and I both work with? You first gen students of color, generally, I'm working with LGBTQIA plus students. And what we've found, or what I've found and my colleagues have found, is that the difference in being sometimes successful and achieving those dreams is because you have somebody behind you that's just saying, you can do it. You're going to make it. You're going to get there. And throughout my life, I've had, many, many, many mentors that have helped me get to where I am, both personally and professionally. One, I'm going to just throw this out there, being you. You were a mentor of mine and have been a mentor of mine, both professionally and personally, as long as I've known you, and we're not even going to go there because it's been a while as well.
Yeah, I don't need to know how old I am. That's irrelevant.
We're both 25, and that's all anybody needs to know. But I had some really great mentors in different areas that helped me and kind of encouraged me, both that hard love and that, you're going to get there and you're going to get there. And I wanted to talk with you because I know
the same.
You're doing the same thing, and you've had those mentors. And again, we have our behind the scenes conversations, especially when this one here was getting her dissertation done. There were some messages that we had to send back and forth, but this topic and idea of mentorship, what does that mean for you? What does that look like? And how do you implement that in what you do with your scholars and your clients?
That is so big, Scott. We may have to take it in pieces. So, there are a lot of definitions out there regarding mentoring, and some of them I don't really subscribe to. And so for me, it's just having individuals that are willing to share their time, their knowledge, and their resources. Perhaps that's it. The time, their knowledge, and their resources. And if they fit into one of those three, and usually it's all three, then I've considered them a mentor. And similar to you, I've had so many mentors, I've lost count at different phases of my journey, academic or career, or even within career. I've gone from finance to fashion to higher education, and the mentors have shifted based on what sector I'm in, right? And then it's what income bracket you've moved to, and those mentors have shifted there as well. But honestly, I really don't think I would be where I am now if I didn't have mentors. I mean, even I was looking at, I do a daily reading, a daily meditation, and I was looking at the books that I read every day given to me by a mentor. So there really isn't any area in our lives, a student's lives, that I don't think a mentor could be beneficial.
And when you're working with your students, how do you kind of advise them to find that mentor, or how do they know when they've found somebody that's a good fit for them?
That's a big question. So the easy answer is, let's do the macro, right? The easy one is, did your gut tell you something? Did you feel a little something there? When you talk to this person, you feel invigorated, you feel inspired, you feel like you were helped and you want to go back to them? Or do you think about this person when you have to make a decision, right? Like, oh, I need to, does this person come to mind, either talking to them or what would they do in this situation? So if we just deal with the intangibles, right, that feeling, that emotion, then you probably found someone. But on the tangible side, you may have to go after what it is you want, right? And maybe the term right away isn't a mentor, but you kind of got your eye on them to become a mentor. So if there's a faculty member that you really admire them, you love what they've done with their career, you enjoy their teaching, you want to learn more from them, then they could eventually evolve into a mentor. So I think there's the formal, where you can sign up for a mentoring program. A lot of colleges actually have them. You may need to talk to your career services office, your academic advisor, student services office, a resident dean. Guaranteed, if you're on a campus, there's some mentoring program somewhere. So you could do it more formally. But if you want to do it informally, then that's where teachers, past supervisors, friends that can introduce you to people, that's where that comes into play.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, that's, you've made some great points. The time, the knowledge, and the resources.
Yes.
As I've sort of progressed through my career, those are things that I've noticed that I look for, and it has evolved as well. I mean, there was my very first mentor. I wanted her she mentored me. I was I think before kindergarten, and I wanted to be a bus driver because of this amazing woman. And it was just the way that she encouraged me and walked me through things. And as I've gone through, there have been some mentors that have just, they're there and they are still there. They've just miraculously ended up in my path. And then there was a time, as you know, that I was in politics, and there were some people that I sought out because I said, I like what you've done. I want to have that skill set. I want to be able to have your piece. And I sought them out, and I can't put out names, but I got some of those people as mentors that I could call and say, hey, before I go and do this, press conference, or before I go out there and make this statement, let me run it by you. And what am I doing? Or even, and I don't know if you've done this, you've spoken in front of large groups of people. There have been times where I've had to call that mentor and be like, I'm standing on stage and I'm staring at 300 people wearing suits and they're not like me. And the mentors had to be like, well, how do you know they're not like you? They're all wearing suits. So you have no idea what they're like. And really just personal mentoring when you're in a professional setting to help you get through some of those moments. And the resources piece, I think, is when you're mentoring, it's what am I projecting? What am I giving back to my mentee? How am I guiding them? Because you are in a way guiding them through a process, a point in their life, something that they're trying to work on. And you develop this relationship, and it's like these resources that you give, you want to make sure that they're going to promote and help this person, this individual get to where they need to be. So it's this great dynamic, I think. And when, I first met you back when we were 24. Back last year.
Just the other day.
We were both, working the grindstone. I mean, we still, when people say that you, in my 20s, I was hitting the grindstone, wait till you hit your 40s.
Yes.
Which I have, she has not, she's still in her 20s. But as you get there and you're working and you as a professional find, okay, I'm now a resource that people are looking for.
It's so true.
Looking to have as a mentor
Yep.
to them. And
we are the mentors now.
And I think sometimes to myself, I'm just this kid that.
But I still want to be mentored.
I still want to be, absolutely. I still want to be mentored. And I'm thinking, I'm just this guy that grew up on a ranch in California. Yeah. What have I done? But I think as we go through and in the times that we're in where we are subjected to, having to have a virtual life. And in certain cases, I think having a mentor that can meet with you that you're comfortable with as well online, virtually, that you can, before you get up on stage in front of 300 suits to talk about coaching in an executive field or coaching their children, and you have that person that's on speed dial and you're sitting there texting them going, I'm freezing, and they're like, you're fine, it's 70 degrees, and they help you.
You bring up so much to that just in your life cycle. So whether you are a middle school student, a high school student, a college student, a graduate student, an adult learner, all of us, right? You just gave us great examples of having mentors at every level, at every stage. It's just now we become a mentor as well, but it doesn't mean we cannot still be mentored, right? And you're right, technology has shifted the game. And I think, honestly, I think it has helped some of the students that we work with.
Absolutely.
And whether it's getting access to someone for 15 minutes now on Zoom versus trying to get an in-person appointment. I know many people think I'm an extrovert, but I'm really a high I. I'm a high introvert. I just become an extrovert when I need to be. So to me, it's been a safe space, to be honest, to be able to reach out to people and say, can I have 15 minutes of your time on Zoom? So I think it has provided that opportunity for others. And I have a learning disability. So me being able to take notes or think before I speak, or maybe I'll be less judged. It has opened up a lot of opportunities for students.
Absolutely. I think that has been probably one of, both as a coach, a mentor, a college consultant, and a business owner, I think that's also been one of the biggest things, was having this door opened, forced upon us.
Yes, that is true. It was forced.
Where we had to all of a sudden adjust and adapt. And thankfully I had, and we'll talk about mentors in this case, my nephews, because at some point you forget how to use technology, or it's advanced to the point where you're like, I just want to put this background up. That's what I want to do. And so I would call my nephews and be like, hey, how does uncle do this? And they would mentor me and walk me through this process. I do have the technological background, but there were times where I've had to call them and say that. And, for my students, particularly those who are identifying as LGBTQIA+, this has also been a safe space where they feel they can talk to somebody in their own setting. They're not in a room. They're not, quietly sitting somewhere talking where nobody else is going to hear what they have to say. They're with us. They can have a conversation. Now, there are situations where you have family members, you're in a position, and what I would never want to do is out one of my students. But it gives me that ability to even text and say, hey, are you alone in the room? Because I then will change what I'm saying as far as how I'm coaching or mentoring this individual.
Wow. That opens the doors to, as mentors, what we should be thinking about when we're mentoring others. And then questions that students can ask if you're seeking a mentor, because you just opened up a whole other thought, like, is this a safe space? How much information can we discuss? And so I think it goes both ways. So students, if you're thinking about getting a mentor, maybe listing out those things that would be helpful in a mentor to either know or be willing to do, or how should they adjust? Because I think you have a little power too, even as a student, when you're looking for a really good mentor that could align with you. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think having that sort of, here's what I want to talk about. Now, let me throw the caveat out there. When I'm saying that I'm talking about these things, these are with students who are over the age of 18. If they're
Yes.
under 18, different dynamic. And I'm not talking about gender sexuality unless, mom and dad are in the room. But if they're over 18, this is when I coach a student, what are the goals? And even, coaching and mentoring, there's a fine blurred, jagged line between the two of them and what it is. But, when I work with students, individuals, scholars, anybody, but I like to establish what are the goals that you want to achieve.
Right.
It doesn't matter how high in the sky out there you think they are. If it is a goal, my job is to help you figure a path to get there. It's not to sugarcoat it. It's not to say, you know what, you want to be the Queen of England and it'll happen tomorrow. No, there's a succession of people that would have to be taken out for it to happen. But you know what? If you want to marry a royal, there are paths you can go to get there. So I will help you set those goals, but not just the moving forward goals. What are the goals for when we get on this safe space? What are the goals that we need to have set? If, in my case, students that I'm working with, if you have a preferred name that you're using when mom and dad aren't around and you want me to use that name, you let me know. I have no problem. I will say whatever name you want. But I want to know if mom and dad are around, because if mom and dad are around, I'm immediately going to go back to your dead name. That's what you want me to do. If you're looking for me to help you break that barrier between mom and dad, then what we're going to start talking about, because I am not a therapist, is the goal of, okay, how do you see that happening? And that might be one of the things that I would mentor them in, is saying, you need to find a therapist who you can work with to then bring your parents in and have this conversation if you're that concerned about what may or may not happen. Because again, as mentors and coaches, we have to be careful not to step into that therapy role.
That is a good point. That is a really good point.
You want to make sure that we're careful in those roles. We're not giving therapeutic medical type
of true, and providing those referrals, right? But then as coaches, we need to be cognizant, aware, and educated enough to identify when a student needs those services, right? Because I know you've been there, I've been there, students coming in crying, like before he can even get a word out, something happened to them or someone that they love, right? And so that's a really good point, because there's a line between, like I sometimes, I don't always have to say this, but there have been times when I've said, okay, you are welcome to share what is on your heart to share, but know that if I feel as though you're going to harm yourself or harm someone else, then I'm going to work with you to see who else we can bring into this conversation so that you could get the support that you need, right? And so you bring up a lot of dynamics on the mentoring and coaching, and whether students need to think about that dynamic or others that are mentoring need to think about that dynamic, but you do bring up some really important points. Yeah.
And, I'm sitting here and I'm fortunate enough that, again, my background growing up was Whitey McWhitesville. It was California in the middle of, the ranch. And I thankfully I was always intrigued by different cultures and different ways of life. And I always knew that there was something more than just this area that I lived in, and more than just the United States.
That's why we're friends.
And, I'm fortunate that I was able to go to a university where the culture was so diverse and inclusive and from all over. I mean, I still remember one time I was sitting in one of my culinary courses. I went to school to be a chef in my undergrad, and I was eating grubs that had been brought in from Botswana from a young lady that had lived there and had been recruited to come to our university. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, where else on earth besides sitting in Botswana would I be doing this, learning this culture? And even in that moment, I had a mentor. This young woman was showing me about her culture, and that, we don't all sit down and eat an 8-ounce filet with Béarnaise sauce on the side of it and doing those things. Like, these are differences. So for me, I like the fact that I'm able to, I have to use my words wisely here because if I say this the wrong way, I've learned that I'm able to adapt and understand. I've been able to, as I've gotten older and worked in this, I've been able to understand what I don't understand. Meaning, if I have a student sitting before me that is saying, you know, it's COVID, my parents lost their home, we've been living out of a van, I have never experienced that. It's not something I have lived, but let's talk about this. Here, where can we go to get you some support, some help, some things to do? But what I also see a lot of people doing that I'm working with, and they try to push their values or their way of doing something, thinking that they're doing it in the best interest, when in reality, you and I are friends. We have a great relationship, but we have vastly different cultures and we come from vastly different backgrounds. And I would never sit here and say to you, Tasha, it's been easy for you to get to where you at. You have the easiest role. I have seen, as a woman and as a woman of color, what you have gone through in your career to get where you are. And in some of those instances, there are things that I may have done or did and just popped on through because of the color and the gender that I am right now. And so when I'm mentoring students, I want them to understand that, you know, life isn't always going to be the rose-colored glasses. There are going to be times when you have to be assertive. And if you want something, you have to do it, but do it in a way that shows them, I'm not just here yelling and screaming. I'm here. Here are the facts. Here's what it has done. Here's how it's affected me. And here's why it's a systemic problem. And doing that. So I've found that my mentoring and my coaching has turned more, like not more, but into activism as well, because I want students to feel empowered, especially I think as I just said that, we have to be careful about leading and pulling versus encouraging and nudging. Sometimes.
It's so true. I agree. And a little piece of that reminds me of a mentor that I still have. I met him in 2002. And to this day, he's still my mentor. And this gentleman was a white gentleman, so dashing. When I got this job, wore these bow ties and these suspenders, made a crap load of money, super successful. And so where I lacked in some economic finance, I didn't really have that growing up, he kind of poured into me, and he would leave books on my desk and didn't even say anything. It was meant to read it, because at some point he might ask me a question. He would leave articles on my desk. And at times he would put me in meetings with his clients and be like, Natascha can handle this. What? But he knew I had read, I'd researched, I did everything, and I was ready for that. And so you reminded me of my mentors that were difference in age, difference in gender, difference in sexuality, difference in demographic of where they grew up. He took a yacht, a boat to work. I'm coming on the train from the projects, like, but he took a liking to me, and I knew what I needed because I knew where I wanted to go. So I think that perception from a student is be open to whatever that mentor might look like. Yes, it's important for me to also have Black women. Absolutely. Right. But it was also important for me to be mentored by men. They do things a little bit different, think things a little bit different, and their networks and their conversations. And this guy was on the golf course. And if I knew I wanted to be down, I had to learn how to play. So he told me where to go, right? And so I think that for students, be open to mentors just across the spectrum, because you just never know who's going to, because you might think you know who helped me and who opened that door, but you may not. It might be like, wait, that's your mentor? It sure is.
And I think that's the key takeaway of this is you don't know where your mentors are going to come from. There are those ones that you seek out, but then there are those ones that just
there's a few
land in your lap. And
it's so true. And it's like, wait, what? Like,
I have a
We
very
don't even have the same religion. Like, we're way to the left.
I have a mentor, and the only thing that we had in common at the time was that we were both stuck in Chicago International Airport during a snowstorm, and I was on my way home from college, and she was on her way home to see her husband. Wow. And we got stuck there, and we were literally sitting on like the last 2 bench seats, and we got to talking. And I mean, she was probably 40 years older than me at the time.
Yeah.
And so, you know, what did I have in common? And the wisdom she provided just in this time in the airport when I really was like, I really want to just, this was pre 9/11. So I'm like, I just want to jump out the damn window of this airport and get out of here. But you're right. You never know where those mentors are going to come from. And if I had said who this person was, you'd all look at me and be like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
It's, you know, it's a dynamic thing. So because of time, and I know everybody's busy.
Oh my goodness.
I do want to ask one final question. I know what this is, but for those that are watching and are looking, what is a youth career coach? I know that you are the founder and owner of the Career Coach Inc. What exactly does that mean? And what do you do? Tell us a little bit about that.
So in short, you typically are under 18, you know, in that preteen to teen age group. And so my commitment was to focus on that preteen to teen age group and introduce them to career opportunities and get them prepared a little bit earlier on. So people will say, well, could a preteen have a resume? Well, does a preteen play a sport or an instrument, or volunteer in the community, or wash dishes at home, or babysit for a neighbor? Yes, that preteen could definitely have a resume. So introducing the terminology and career development at an earlier age, I think will help propel them for their future. So youth, preteen to teen, career coaching, introducing them to career conversations, thinking career focus, helping them learn terminology was my goal. And I did that through one-on-one coaching, workshops, webinars, and you know what, I will throw a note in. If you have an elementary school child or pre-K, it's not too early to say this is a career or this is a job. Like, look at that fireman going or their post office going. And I used to read books at elementary school across Rhode Island, actually, and talking about different careers and jobs in the books that I was reading the little kids. So I love that work. I love that work. So
awesome. And I think, you know, that is something that I can use my nephews. They won't get upset with me. I'm not going to say their names, but that was something that in their family, you graduated high school, you went to college, you got a degree in business, and you worked in business. That's what you did. And both of my nephews found out very soon that college wasn't for them. And they both followed their dreams of what they wanted to do. My one nephew, my oldest, bless his heart, always was with my father, his grandfather, out in the yard, working on the tractors and the construction equipment and everything. And he now works for Pacific Gas and Electric, and he's making probably more money than
a lot of people.
A lot of people, and has 0 student loans that he's working on. And my other nephew, who's very quiet and stoic and just, I'm here, loves animals. He loves hunting, so I'm gonna put it out there, but he does it for generally to supply himself with food. It's not like he's
right.
He now lives in Wyoming. He's working on tractors as well, and diesel engines, that's what he loves to do. And it was because my parents, who again, they didn't go to college, so they didn't know how to help me, which is why I got into what I'm doing as well. They always encourage them, do what makes you happy. Don't do something because you think it's going to be what somebody else wants. And that's a hard lesson to learn. And I think that, you know, for those of you, like you're saying, kindergarten, anywhere along the line, you can start using those words and that terminology that, like, you know, if you can do this, if this is something you enjoy doing, this is a career. This is how you would build upon that and go forward. And don't just limit it to that. If tomorrow they're playing with the GI Joes, talk to them about how, you know, the military services and things like that. I'm not saying it's for everybody, but maybe your child wants to defend our country and that's what they want to do. Encourage the playing with the guns in a positive direction versus in a not so positive direction.
Right.
And doing those things.
I agree.
So
So many career options for our students, and all of it is respectful careers. All of
absolutely.
it.
And that's something that I've noticed that I've been having to have conversations with parents about is I hear them sometimes say something, at this point, we're going to take them out of college and have them go work fixing streets. Have you driven down my street lately?
Yeah.
Because
And there's such a demand for these careers. I mean, I literally was looking up research for snow drivers, because I live in the East Coast, so lots of snow, and they are paying them on the books between $50 and $150 and $150 an hour to drive trucks. So next time we look at different people's careers, I'm like, slow your roll. Let me show you what the check looks like, because now I think we're getting even a little bit on what we assume salaries are coming out of college versus salaries that may not require a degree, but they require training. And I think that's where we need to elevate that these other jobs require training, so I love it.
absolutely. And with the training, I think also comes fiscal management, because if
Yes.
you're thinking, okay, well, that's only snow removal, it's only going to be for a few months out of the year. Well, first, come move to the Northeast. It's more than a few months out of the year. And secondly, if you're making that kind of bank an hour, you save so that maybe during the summer months, you can go and work
lawn care, because I know a business that does lawn care. They move it all, like it's one company, and they do all those groundsman services over the year, right? So
you've built this business to take everything. So absolutely.
But yes, we could talk all day. So
good. And again, thank you so much. I really wanted to talk about the importance of mentors. And again, my thoughts on you and how much of a mentor and a friend and just a mover and shaker that you are for everybody, let alone me. I'm thankful enough that I get to know you personally. And speaking of electronics, I think we've seen each other more electronically now than we have in person over the last.
And I love it.
So do I. And lastly, I just wanted to follow up because she said she was an introvert and she was way up here, but she still likes to be extroverted when she needs to be. I'm just one of my students told me
I think I know. I think the word begins with an A, isn't it? Isn't it like a combination of the two?
No, it's a socially deprived extrovert or something like that. Socially introverted extrovert or something. Basically, I thrive off the energy of other people, and I have this. But when I'm ready to have my time,
yes,
I'm going to be an introvert with my iPad reading, doing what I'm doing, listening to something. Got Mary J. Blige and Beyonce, my head mix going on. But otherwise, as you all can see, I can dominate conversation, so I have to turn it down. But again, ladies and gentlemen, people, individuals that are watching, thank you very much. Dr. Saunders, I'm so thankful that I finally get to say doctor. I love that.
After a decade, thank you for all your support with that too, Scott.
I was just there for you to keep you motivated and keep you on stride when you needed it. But thank you again so much for everything that you do for our youth, for our industry, for our world, for humanity. You embody, people look at her smile. She just embodies everything that I want to see in human beings. So thank you very, very much. And
thank you, Scott.
For everybody that is watching, please be on the lookout for my next installment.
And subscribe to Scott's channel.
Subscribe and like. I finally get to do that. Subscribe and like to my channel. And you will be seeing updates. I'm going to be doing some quick talks of different topics that are relevant to life and what we do and mentorships and careers and college and all of that stuff. So again, thank you everybody for watching, and we will be in touch.